Pegasus Podcast, presented by Night Sports Now. UCF news, views, and a few hot takes. Now, here are your hosts, Bailey Go Knights Adams and Christian Charge On Simmons.
Welcome into episode 287. Be sure you're following us on Twitter at BaileyJAdams22, at @ByCASimmons, at Night Sports Now, and at Pegasus Podcast. You can also email us at PegasusPodcastByKSN@gmail.com. All summer long, the whole idea is I can't wait to get to the fall, because then it's I get through the week by looking forward to the weekend because UCF plays on Saturday and then the Bucks play on Sunday. This weekend was weird because UCF had a bye week. The Bucks play in an hour and 48 minutes on Monday Night Football. So if I had a life and had anything to get done, this would have been the weekend to do it. I don't. So I spent probably 24 hours watching football between Thursday and Sunday. Christian, how are you?
Doing well. I didn't watch nearly as much football as you because I find the NFL largely uninteresting. So I had a good Saturday. Don't think I watched 1 minute of NFL football on Sunday, and here we are. I'll probably throw the Bucks game on tonight. It's weird. I don't typically watch the NFL on Sunday, but I'll watch the Monday night game just because it's something to have on during the week. But Sundays, I'm usually footballed out by then after watching college football wall to wall for 14 hours. Stayed up. You wouldn't shut the hell up about this. I don't know why I said that so aggressively.
That was very aggressive.
You wouldn't stop telling me how much you liked the Cal quarterback. So I stayed up very late on Saturday to watch the Cal quarterback play. And I have to say, don't know where he's going to be next year, but it ain't going to be Cal, because that is a very, very good quarterback. Very good player.
Good player. I've committed some time to trying to learn how to say his name. I think I'm almost there.
I don't have a clue how to say it. JKS, that's his name.
Yeah, Jaron Keave Sangapolutele. I believe that's it. So
JKS.
He's my
excited for
favorite
UCF to go after him. I can't wait for the Kane Archer JKS quarterback battle next fall. Yeah, it's gonna be great.
Oh gosh. Well, yeah, it was a long weekend of football, which I enjoyed a lot. But now we're back to game week. Before we get into our UCF North Carolina preview, some UCF news did drop during the week last week, and some unfortunate news. Offensive line coach Sean Clark suffered a medical emergency, and this was UCF's statement at the time. I believe this was last Wednesday. He said, last night, UCF offensive line coach Sean Clark experienced a medical emergency. He's currently in stable condition and receiving appropriate care. Coach Frost and our football and administration staffs are fully supporting Coach Clark and his loved ones during this time, and our thoughts and prayers are with Sean and his family. Updates will be shared as appropriate. On Monday, Scott Frost said he's spent some time in the hospital visiting with Coach Clark, and the current plan right now is to bring in. They have the assistant that was Clark's handpicked assistant, who will kind of take over, but they're also trying to bring in another veteran O-line coach that can kind of help him out. It kind of threw off the bye week a little bit, because Frost also said that they were supposed to practice 3 times. That happened, so they only got to 2 practices and kind of skipped a walkthrough because of it. But obviously, first and foremost, yeah, I mean, it just is hard news to take. And hopefully Coach Clark is okay, and I guess the idea that he's in stable condition is at least good, but never want to see a statement like that come across.
Yeah, that's always awful, and hopefully he'll be okay. Nothing Frost has said or really anything sounds like, I don't know if it sounds like the type of thing he's going to come back from maybe even this season. I don't know. That's a little speculative on my part, so I probably shouldn't say that. But yeah, it seems like UCF is going to have to move forward without him for the time being, which is obviously tough. We'll see. Yeah, I'm curious about who they'll bring in, because that is kind of tough to have to bring in a coach in season. I don't know if I've ever heard of UCF having to do that before, but it's difficult. But yeah,
honestly, that's a very unique situation.
Pretty rare situation to end up in, yeah. So we'll have to see how they manage that in the. I don't know. I don't think it's the type of thing that you can have in place before this coming weekend, I would think.
I don't think so. I imagine that probably in preparation for this game, it's more of like an all hands on deck kind of thing, right, where I forget the guy. I meant to have the guy's name. The assistant. We talked about him earlier over text. But there was also, I wonder before he said that, because this guy is not listed on UCF's staff directory at all, which was strange, because he said the name is Alex Farah.
Yeah.
And so he will be taking over. I kind of thought too before I knew of that. I know Jordan Johnson is on staff as like an offensive quality control coach or something like that. He's kind of like an assistant, more generally on the offense. But I know in his time since playing at UCF, he's had some experience coaching offensive line elsewhere. So I imagine maybe he'll be tapped on the shoulder to jump in and do some stuff there. But yeah, it's not a great situation, obviously, for Sean Clark demand, but also for UCF football in the middle of the season like this with, I mean, from a football standpoint, a unit that was already kind of in flux a little bit. We didn't really know, it's been okay. It hasn't been great over the first couple games. So adding this into the fire as a football sense is tough.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Anything else before we move on from that?
No, I think that pretty much covers it. Kind of a sensitive topic. I don't want to dwell on it for too long, but yeah, I think that pretty much covers it.
So on to the UCF North Carolina preview, which this is a game that's going to be very, very interesting for a lot of reasons. North Carolina comes in, well, actually, first of all, knocking on wood because it's Monday, but the fact that we're this close to the game and nothing is threatening the game. Wow.
Why would you say that?
Because
why would you say that?
There's no immediate threats to the state of Florida. Been keeping an eye on it, honestly. I really have.
How quickly hurricanes get, why would you say that? But
nah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, because whatever I say is going to influence how the weather responds. Yeah, I'm sure that's going to happen.
You of all people, first off, you're doubling down, so now it is actively going to be your fault.
Yeah, no. So if a hurricane comes and cancels this game, it's my fault.
You of all people just declaring that jinxes aren't real is shocking to me. Of all the people in my life, to be the one to make that declaration. Explain. You're just the type of person who would be about jinxes, and I've watched you be about jinxes before, so I feel like that's nonsense for you to take that stance right now. But it's true. There is no hurricane heading for the state of Florida at this very moment. I will remind you that there are still things called thunderstorms that happen, and I think the 3:30 kick is setting us up nicely to get through like 2 quarters and then have to wait 2 hours. So looking forward to that. But yeah,
if they kick off at all, it is an improvement over the last couple of UCF North Carolina games that never happened.
If North Carolina makes it to the stadium, if both teams are in the same building, it will have been an improvement over the last two. But do you think UCF just needs to do like what the baseball teams do in the North and just like play the first 4 games of the season on the road and then don't come to Florida until the thunderstorms are done?
I had that conversation, I think it was before the A&T game while we were in a weather delay. And I just don't think it's feasible, but I did think about it because it's just like, this is every year for us.
It's every year and it's for everyone. The USF Miami game got delayed for like almost 2 hours this week, and it's just freaking annoying.
But it's happening, like, it's not just Florida either. Texas Tech is running into it also, where they had like the weird apocalypse kind of delay in week 1, and then they had another one this week. But anyway, shouldn't have said that. But UCF North Carolina is scheduled to play Saturday at 3:30 on Fox. And before we get into the main storyline and all that, the fact you may not know, and you have told me that you think you're going to know it. Which...
I'm questioning your ability to. I think this was easy when it was fake games. I'm curious if you're going to be able to pull a truly fact I may not know for a real program like North Carolina. So go ahead, hit me with it.
This is a bizarre thing because I've been doing a lot of reading on this since like last Wednesday, and still can't come to a clear, clear decision or a clear understanding of all of it. North Carolina, the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill is one of 3 universities in America. You do know this.
Go ahead.
Oh, that sucks. I don't like that. That claims to be the oldest university in America. And I find that bizarre. They were chartered in 1789, which was 4 years after the University of Georgia. So they were chartered in 1785. Georgia's another one that claims it. William and Mary's the other one that claims it. They've been around since 1693, but they were a private institution for over 250 years. So North Carolina is one of them. Maybe it depends on who you ask or who you talk to, but they might be one of the oldest ones. I immediately don't want to do the podcast anymore because I don't like the way you nodded.
Let me tell you something. Didn't know it at all. Just knew that if I could nod, you would get upset. I was planning to just slowly nod my head no matter what you said. And it really
again, this is why I'm not calling this fun fact, because I don't know if that's a fun fact. It's
I
dumb
think
fact.
That is so not fun, but I didn't know it, so it fits the criteria for the fact.
It's aging. My naming of this segment of our previews is aging better and better each week.
So what's the debate? Is that they're saying they're older, but they weren't public or something?
I can't. So that's the William and Mary thing, is that they say they're the oldest, but because they've been around since 1693. But
it's a long time.
Very long time. But they were private for 250 years. So
what were the classes
argument
in 1693? What did you go to school for in 1693?
I don't know.
How to not die before 15? Like what were the lessons? I don't know. I'm fascinated by that.
But so I might have even messed this entire thing up. So the debate is about what's the oldest public university. And so William and Mary says that it's them, but they weren't public in 1693 and they weren't for 250 years. So that's why it's probably not them, but they're public now, I guess. And then Georgia was chartered first. UNC, I think, claims that they had students attending classes before Georgia. But no one really seems like, every time I look it up, I looked up multiple different times. I was like, is North Carolina the oldest public university in America? And then the stupid AI answer was like, yes, it is. And then I looked up, is the University of Georgia the oldest public university in America? And then the stupid AI thing said, yes, it is. So it is just, the more and more reading I did of it, I didn't obviously do too much, but I have looked it up and tried to read on it several times since last Wednesday. And that's where I landed. I landed on that one because I did find that with North Carolina, obviously, people will know like famous alums and just general stuff about, like, it's a very, very popular and very famous university. So I just was like, let me look into the actual school itself.
So in 1693, when William and Mary was founded, congratulations for being the oldest school. I'm giving it to them because 1693 just feels like a very long time. I forgot how dumb people were back then, so that makes some of this more doable. But they had to learn languages. Including Latin, which I forgot how for a very long time. I think even now a little bit, that was like the big thing is no one speaks this, but you ought to learn it. There was some philosophy study. There was Bible study. And there was also, because it just frickin' won't go away, there was math. There was geometry.
Of course there was.
Algebra.
There was parts of math probably that hadn't even been discovered yet, but
I think there were huge parts of math that haven't been discovered yet. I just think that's cool that like the world is, I imagine, fairly different today than it was in 1693. But I like that even then, there were kids who were just like, I cannot figure out this freaking hypotenuse or whatever the hell. Like I love that has persevered through so many generations and for many generations to come. I hate math so much.
I don't need to ask this question.
Go ahead. You're about to ask something
when was the Pythagorean theorem like established or discovered?
When did they found the Pythagorean theorem? I don't know.
Because I'm thinking, like, in 1693, was that a thing they were learning? And I love this. We're 13 minutes into the podcast.
Before I answer the question, let me ask you a question, Bailey. What is the Pythagorean theorem?
It's I know it. I learned it. It's the three sides of a triangle thing where they equal something.
Okay.
That was a rough answer.
Well, I think what would have helped you out was the name Pythagorean, because the Pythagorean theorem was established in 1900 BC. Oh. So, I think the kids at William and Mary probably learned a little bit. Surely, like, I don't think, is it triangle related? No, I know there's some, especially since UCF is an engineering school. There are people listening to this right now who are like,
we've outed losing how their
absolute mind. Yeah, it's part of Euclidean geometry, obviously. And it involves
that word
sides of the right triangle.
Yes, exactly.
The square of the. All right, we're done.
The right angle. It makes a right angle.
Sure.
And
I bet the math folks really enjoyed that.
And there's like, they give you two sides of it, and they're like, find X.
I was a really good student in school. Very good student. Yeah. UCF Honors College alum. And I don't know what the hell was ever going on with math at any point. Just pure nonsense to me. Like, I remember math classes, and I'd like do it all through the formula and be like, great, I did it. And then I get the test back and it'd be like, this was entirely wrong. No step was correct. And I had no idea.
After the last 3 minutes of this podcast, people will be shocked to know that I was rejected from the UCF Honors College. So didn't get in.
That's too bad. We could have roomed together. Oh, wait.
Honestly, I was
worked out.
All right, never mind. This game is happening. North Carolina 2-1 coming in as UCF is 2-0. Game is on Fox, and I think that's probably where we start. This is the big main storyline of this is that the national spotlight is on Scott Frost's UCF for the first time during this season and this tenure. Obviously, the first two games being on ESPN Plus. but this one is on Fox in a prime slot, 3:30. North Carolina obviously coming in. It's Bill Belichick, and that's going to be the big story that everyone's talking about. But UCF's first chance to actually do something that people will talk about this year.
Yeah, I'm excited for this because, and we'll see, but how many podcasts did we have where this was basically the topic under Gus was big spotlight on UCF. Can they do it? It was 2021 Louisville. It was 2022 Louisville. It was 2023. God, it was like 2023 Baylor and then K-State. We did this a lot in 2023. Mm-hmm. And it was always the one thing it always had in common was that UCF didn't win the game. And I don't know if they're going to win this game.
Colorado last year.
Colorado. Oh, okay. Yep. Hosting game day in 2022 until they got blown out by East Carolina on the road. It was always, listen, illustrious history these last few years of not taking advantage of your big moments.
Which is why I'm so desperate for them to win this game on Saturday.
Yeah, I know. And honestly, if they win, which is a big if, because we just, truth be told, a few weeks into the season, it feels like we just don't know a lot about either of these teams, except that they both might not be good. That's kind of where we're at. It would just feel validating to have a game like this, to have a Fox game and have, the fanfare that comes with that and the viewership. And it's going to get viewers just because it's the big Bill Belichick on national TV game. And I don't know. I feel like it doesn't necessarily mean anything for the rest of the season. I don't think if UCF goes out there and wins this game, that means, all right, they're marching to 9-3 or something insane like that. But it just would feel good to just have a win like that after basically 4 years of UCF never really winning when the spotlight was on them.
Well, so I've just remembered one because here's where I think I can point to how it doesn't mean anything for the rest of the year, because I guess it was this past weekend, but last year at this time, UCF played TCU, and that game was on Fox, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they won that game, and we thought,
no one
wow.
watched it, but it was
it's true. No one did watch it. But it was the Fox game that night, and it meant absolutely nothing because UCF didn't win another game until, a month and a half later. So it doesn't. But and the funny thing with this one too is it's going to be, and we'll see. But it honestly doesn't matter because for me, I just want them to win so that UCF's 3-0. They're halfway to a bowl. We can still feel pretty good, all that. But that nationally you might get some like, oh, UCF got to win, but you're going to get the narrative is going to be way more, oh, Bill Belichick's UNC is in trouble. They lost another one.
I don't care. I
understand
I don't care. There's no reality where this game happens. There's nothing that can happen in this game where the storyline will be, hey, UCF might be good. It will either be Bill Belichick's UNC is getting rolling or Bill Belichick's UNC sucks. And that's totally fine. Don't care. Yeah. Just win the game.
But the frustrating part is in that context, it is a no-win situation for UCF because if they win, it's not like, oh, UNC lost it to a tough UCF team. It's just why UNC couldn't even beat UCF.
Yep.
So yeah,
I have a fact that you may not know, Bailey, that I only know because I was checking some UNC coverage. So I was reading UNC 247's coverage of the game. UNC 247, who also said that Gus was fired by UCF. We can roll with that narrative. It's not what happened, but we can stick with that. They say that if Scott Frost wins this game, it will be his 16th straight win as UCF's head coach. That is correct. Basic math and the Pythagorean theorem have allowed me to confirm that. They say that will tie Nick Saban's streak for consecutive wins at the same program of 16 straight. So shout out Scott Frost.
That's a hilarious stat.
Potential to put himself up there with names like Nick Saban in his second tenure with UCF.
That just made me think that they're not going to win.
Like, that's it. I do love the idea because if they do win this game, which we'll see, but K-State suddenly feels winnable too. So like, there's a chance. The idea of me getting to tweet like Scott Frost has now won 16 straight as UCF's head coach, has now won 17 straight as UCF's head coach. It's complete BS, but it's so funny to be able to put that out there.
Yeah. So obviously North Carolina coming into this one, they're 2-1. They lost in their first national spotlight game of the year at home to TCU. 48-14. They came back and won 20-3 at Charlotte the next week, and then this past weekend won 41-6 against Richmond. So they're in a spot where it's like, other than the big TCU game, obviously, like we don't really know what they are. Like they might be really bad, but maybe TCU's really good. Their offense hasn't been great. Obviously, scored 20 points against Charlotte. Of the 41 they scored against Richmond, I think they had 2 defensive touchdowns, if I'm not mistaken. I know they had 1. I think they had 2. And so, I mean, we can go back and kind of start there with UCF's offense and North Carolina's defense. For one, the UCF question before we even get to North Carolina's defense is Taven Jackson going to start? And Scott Frost didn't really have an answer on Monday. He said Cam Fancher has been returned. He's been cleared to return to practice. He said, I don't know how close he is to being 100%. Then he was asked, does that mean, you think Taven's going to start Saturday? And he said, we'll see as the week goes on. So I think we might do this every week from the rest of the season.
That would be fun. It's like literally like the Oklahoma State game. And he's still like, we'll see. Taven started every game. And he's like, we'll see. Cam looked good. I don't know. I think this is fine. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I know Scott Frost is more open than Gus, but I still don't think you're going to see the head coach go up there and say like, hey, heads up, Bill Belichick, only worry about this guy. I mean, yeah, because if you're UNC, this does kind of suck because you do have to, it's genuinely kind of up in the air. I think it will be Taven. If I was putting odds on it, I'd probably say like 80% chance of Taven, 20% chance of Cam. But if you're UNC, you have to account for it. So you have to study both these guys.
Still think it'd be funny if they ran out Jakari.
It's just Jakari would be the ultimate. Just like, I mean, if you're UNC, do you devote any time to looking at Jakari? Probably, right?
Yeah, you got to have some. You have to be aware that they're going to use him at some point.
Yeah, so I think that's the thing too. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I find it hard, and I could be wrong. Crazier things have happened at quarterback with UCF as recently as like 9 months ago. But I really have a hard time with the way things have played out this season, and mainly with them still not being sure how healthy Cam is for him to start this game. I just feel like I'd be surprised by that.
Yeah, I would too. And Frost was asked too about how, like, what he's seen from Taven over the last couple of weeks, and because he had talked initially after the Jacksonville State game, saying he was kind of pissed off when he didn't get the job, and it kind of like reignited something in him. And Frost said that he's seen him like he's played with a little more intensity in practice the last couple of weeks, and he's kind of seen him change a little bit, which I think is a good thing. But yeah, I think again, you asked me this, I think after the A&T game, like on our post game. He said, who starts North Carolina? And I said Taven, and I still think it's Taven. So
now that being said, I think it's Taven too. We're going to be so wrong. Cam's going to come. I think they could. I don't know. I could see if they feel like he's healthy. I totally could see them being like, hey, he was the starter to start the season. We're not going to, bench him because of 2 bad drives or whatever. I don't know. It feels far-fetched personally, but I guess I could see it. That being said, if Cam is cleared and if he has a good week of practice or if he's just healthy, I do think the margin of error for Taven is probably razor thin. Yeah. I don't think this is a situation. I don't think Taven's done anything, particularly against North Carolina A&T, to have the job locked up and where if he struggles early, they're not going to make a switch. So I don't know what's going to happen on Saturday. I think the idea of UCF playing multiple quarterbacks feels super on the table. I don't think you can discount that at all. And I don't know. It's just, they've played 2 games. We've learned things, and in a lot of ways, we've learned nothing. We just flat out don't know what this offense is going to look like against a Power 4 defense. I don't think they're going up against the best Power 4 defense on the planet. Not necessarily going up against the best D-line on the planet, which is helpful given the concerns we've had at offensive line. But we just don't know what these guys are going to look like against this level of competition. So maybe Taven balls out. Maybe there's inconsistencies. Maybe there's turnovers. Who knows? It's
really it's bizarre. I think the kind of the parallels here, because I think to an extent UNC doesn't really know what their defense is going to look like against UCF's offense. I know they gave up 34 to TCU because TCU had 2 defensive touchdowns in that game, but UCF's offense is not TCU's offense. Like they're just not.
Spoiler alert, guys. But
yeah, they gave up 3 points to Charlotte and 6 to Richmond, and you'd like to think UCF's offense is better than those 2. So somewhere in the middle of what they've played so far, and they haven't, even in those games they didn't give up a lot of points, but they're not affecting the quarterback very much. Their defense has 4 sacks on the season. 2 of them have come from linebackers, so more coming from the blitzes than the actual front 4. 3 of the 4 of those sacks came against Richmond. So in the first 2 games, TCU and Charlotte, they had just 1 sack. So they're not, like you said, they're not playing. UCF's not playing maybe the best defensive line they're going to see. Might not even be a top 3 or 4 or 5 defensive line they're going to see. But this is Power 4. This is a Power 4 level team. They're in a situation where they had, I think, 70 new players. So they're in the similar kind of feeling out process that UCF's in. But another leading tackler is Andrew Simpson, a linebacker, who's a senior. He has 22 tackles. He has 1 of their sacks. They've got 3 different players with interceptions. They've got 2 players with forced fumbles. So it's like they've got guys making plays, but it's not like they have 1 star on defense, it seems like.
The D-line thing is really interesting to me because, the whole Sean Clark situation aside, before that, we were discussing that offensive line was our number 1 concern for this team. And I think that has festered for me a little bit since the last game. It's just I've looked at every group, every position group, and there's something you can take away from those first 2 games to feel good about. I don't know if that's really there for offensive line. And that doesn't mean it was a train wreck or a disaster. It was just concerning for the level of competition they were going against, to see problems kind of pop up repeatedly throughout both games. So if you're going up against your first Power 4 team on the schedule and their D-line doesn't seem that awesome, that is important. And I don't want to just say that means, oh, that's optimistic, because that means they might do well. The goal is to get to a bowl. There are going to be games this season where UCF goes up against a D-line they just can't handle. That's going to happen, guys. Spoiler alert, in this conference, it's going to happen. So that makes this game even more important, in that if you're going to get the wins you need to get to 6-6, this really probably needs to be one of them. I know I've said it before, but you win this one, you're 3-0. You can go 3-6 in the Big 12. There are some bad teams in the Big 12 this year. That is possible. I'm not saying 4-5 is impossible, but that starts to become a mountain to climb. To ask everything to work together perfectly on both sides of the ball for 4 games, that's where it gets a little more. So this game's just important. It feels like it might be a good matchup for the offense. Is it fair to say that outside of like the train wreck games, which there might just be one at this point, it's Oklahoma State, is this like the best matchup the offense is going to get among Power 4 teams?
It might be. Yeah, I think so. Because every other team outside of Oklahoma State has at least shown a little bit of something.
Yeah.
At one point or another this season. I just am laughing to myself too, because we talked last week on our bye week podcast about like what we know, what we don't know, what we like, what we don't like, and what we don't know. And one of the things when we talk about the offensive line is we looked at their PFF grades and all that, and they've graded out better in pass protection than they have in run blocking. It seems, and this is more so just based on their game against TCU, but it seems like this is a defense that will give up a lot of rushing yards, but UCF has been struggling to run block and open up lanes for Miles and for Jaden. I mean, Jaden obviously can make his own, and Miles can too, but that's where I think you hope that you see a leap forward from UCF's offensive line and obviously from the running backs, because they gave up 258 rushing yards against TCU. And they also gave up 284 on the through the air. But if UCF can run the ball in this game, and that always obviously makes things easier on whether it's Taven or Cam or whoever, they'll be able to control the clock a little bit, and I'll feel a lot better about their chances of winning this game if they have some semblance of a run game. Which is a weird thing it's a weird spot to be in, because it's not that I feel better about the passing game than the run game, but I all offseason said their strength needs to be the run game, and it hasn't been so far. So, well,
pass protection stats aside, the truth is you have 3 quarterbacks, all of whom are mobile, and you have wide receivers who have shown themselves to be better, probably better, based on what we know now than we thought they were going to be. So weirdly, I do almost feel better about the passing game. And I don't think that Taven had some bad throws, and some of the receivers had some bad drops. There's nothing perfect there, but I don't know. I do in a way see the argument that they might be able to more consistently make things happen through the air in some games than on the ground, which is a crazy spot to be in, and kind of the opposite of how things, not just for UCF, but just for anyone, is supposed to work. But yeah, I don't know. It's just so hard, because me even listening to you say that, talking about how UNC performed against TCU, and then they had their 2 fake games. It's like, it's hard to we're kind of having to extrapolate out how they did in one game 3 weeks ago. Like that game could end up meaning absolutely nothing. It's just, it's hard. This is why college football is difficult. I don't know. We just don't know. These 2 teams, there's just not enough information.
I do have something that I find interesting from all 3 games, and it's that their defense hasn't been great on third downs. TCU went 7 for 12 on third downs. Even Charlotte, who only scored 3 points, Charlotte was 7 for 16 on third downs, which was a pretty good mark themselves. Richmond was 5 of 13, so they got a little bit better, but that's still, you're going against a Richmond team that was not doing much on offense against them, but they were still kind of extending drives. So that points, in UCF's direction a little bit if they can take advantage of that. Again, it's just, you hope they can. We don't know for sure. So it's like, it's such a, and we'll know, I think you and I talked about this over the weekend, I think, where I was saying, well, at least we'll know a little bit more after this game. You're like, well, will we? And I don't like that. I don't like that we might not actually know.
I think the first game, I really do think the first game that we're going to go into feeling like we have any kind of handle on what this team is will be Kansas.
Yeah.
Because we need 2 games. We need 2 P4 games to see. We just don't know. And I know that makes for great podcasting. I don't want to just sit here and say for an hour, no idea. You guys should watch the game. Your guess is as good as mine, but it's just the double-edged sword of us not knowing a lot about UCF right now, and also UNC being a bit of a question mark is just, I don't know. It's going to be weird. It's going to be weird. And I think the best thing you can hope for the offense is, and I'll call my shot now. I really don't think we're going to be hopping on a post-game podcast and talking about how the offense put up 42 points. I just don't see that coming. I think there are too many question marks up and down that entire side of the ball. We don't know how offensive line is going to perform. Quarterback has been inconsistent. If Taven starts the game, we'll even finish it if Cam is healthy and things are rough. Wide receivers have had some good moments. They've had some bad moments. I don't know. I think and maybe we can transition to defense now. I think if UCF wins this, unsurprisingly, and this is probably going to be the case for a lot of games this year, it's going to be on the strength of the defense. And if they can pester the opposing offense enough to keep the team in the game.
Yeah, and I still feel like I didn't feel like any issues with the defense popped up over the first two games that have given me any pause, and I didn't expect any to, but that's good. In that the fact that North Carolina's offense they scored 41 against Richmond, but even in that game had their own struggles. And their quarterback, Gio Lopez, I thought was a pretty good get in the portal coming from South Alabama. He has not looked very good. 58.5% of his passes he's completing, 343 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. He can run a little bit. He's I think Scott Frost described him as slippery today. But he hasn't been great. Their offense is kind of full of guys in a similar spot to UCF where it's like they don't have a star. Their freshman running back, Damon June, he is their leading rusher right now. He's 200 yards on 23 carries and a touchdown, but I think he had like 1 long touchdown run that kind of juiced those stats a little bit. Similar case with some of their receivers. Like they've had receivers make some big plays, but not getting the same consistency, similar to UCS receivers. So this is an offense, again, that's full of – they've got some guys, but they aren't full of stars yet, or they don't know who their stars are. So it's, again, feeling out process for them. And I think where UCF can win this game is with its D-line versus Carolina's O-line, because I think there's some question marks there.
Yeah, as far as skill talent, I think it is potentially promising for UCF that the guys who have been performing have largely been young guys. A lot of true freshmen, a couple true sophomores. I think for the true freshmen, it's interesting, like the running back and one of the receivers is like, you think about it this way, going into this game, this is going to be their like first real-time atmosphere of their lives, because they've played a home game, or they've played nothing. Did they play at Charlotte?
Yeah.
Okay, so they played a home game and they played. I think Charlotte was probably not as great as some of the high school games those guys have played. So this will be the first time in their lives they're playing in front of a real loud, hostile crowd. And I know it's been more up and down the last couple of years, but we know how powerful the bounce house can be as an environment. So I think that's potentially a good sign that through the first 3 games, not only have the stars not emerged, but for them, it's really the young and experienced guys who've had the big moments. Because are you going to be able to rely on them to do that in their first real, genuine road game of their college careers? I don't know. That sounds like a big ask.
And on that point, I am crossing my fingers and toes that we don't have any weather issues and that we finally get the bounce house in full effect, because understandably, there's been these long delays the first 2 games, so not everybody's stuck around. There was a decent crowd for A&T even after the. So
I was going to say, I could not see out of the press box windows for the entire A&T game because they fogged up and were covered in rain, but everyone was like complimenting the crowd, so I'm assuming people.
Yeah. I was pleasantly surprised with the people who did stick around or who did end up making their way into the stadium. There was like one, the end zone. The one end zone was pretty empty up toward the top, but for the game starting an hour and 15 minutes late, I think it was pretty full for until the game got out of hand. Obviously, people left, but I'm hoping that this is one where we have normal weather and get to see the stadium full and people staying and kind of get a fully invested crowd throughout the course of the game.
Yeah, I'm looking at the forecast right now. There is a 25% chance of rain from around 11 a.m. to like 12, but it's supposed to be totally cleared up by 3:30. So hopefully tailgating might get a little rain, but hopefully we're good. And the weather never changes. So 6 days out, that's your 5 days out. That should be exactly what should happen.
We'll go back to what I said at the beginning about me affecting the weather. I did straight up jinx the weather for the A&T game. I don't know if we haven't talked about this, but it was stupid of me to even ever say it. But the Friday, I think it was like the day after the Jacksonville State game, I said to you, because I was looking at the 7-day forecast, and I was right. Next Saturday is like they're saying there's going to be no rain.
You were saying that to me the day of. We were like in my apartment before going to the game, and you were like, "Weather looks good." Yeah, I remember this. I think you were reading me a tweet though. One of the weather people that morning was like, "Good news, guys."
I think it's true. It might have been Burris.
So I wasn't going to like out a specific person in case we're wrong, but
No, I think it was. I remember seeing his tweet because he did say there was going to be some tailgating rain, but then I think it lingered a little bit. But
I think UCF fans and Eric Burris have like an interesting relationship on weather.
Funny.
But yeah, I'm hopeful. Yeah, because I do think that I'm excited because remember Scott Frost, just for how different things were back then, he did 2 seasons as UCF's head coach, including an undefeated season. He saw like 2 legit sellout crowds. It was the USF game and it was Memphis. All the way through 2017, there were a couple really bad crowds, sub 30,000 crowds for UConn and Frost and P, because both of those games were games that got moved around because of hurricanes, of course. So they just weren't scheduled when they were supposed to be, and that always hurts attendance. And also just there was still a lot of fan fatigue. There had been 2015 it happened, and then 2016 they'd been better, but still not great. It was really 2018 coming off of undefeated was when the bounce house went back to being like this crazy great environment. So Scott Frost hasn't actually seen that a ton. Yeah. And like, I think that'd be cool for him to see it against UNC. I feel like he might be surprised.
It would be nice. Back a little bit to this offensive line. I had a couple more things on them. UNC starting center, who I think coming into the year was looked at as one of their best players, one of their best interior offensive linemen, probably one of their top NFL prospects. He broke his foot during fall camp, and so he's been out. He's probably going to miss the first month of the season. The O-line has managed decently well without him, but Gio Lopez was sacked twice against Richmond this past weekend, and my money would say that UCF's defensive line and defense is going to be better than Richmond's. And then again, for their struggles on defense on third downs, they were 1 of 10 on third downs against TCU, 3 turnovers in that game. They averaged 1.8 yards per carry. They did improve on third downs against Charlotte and Richmond, as you'd expect them to, but I don't know. I don't know enough about TCU's defense. I obviously know that TCU's offense is very good, and I can't say that UCF's offense is near that level. I'd like to think that UCF's defense is on par or around what TCU's defense is, and that gives me some hope for this one too.
Shout out also to UCF defensive tackle Rodney Laura, who came from UNC, so this should be fun for him. But yeah, I really UNC and their problems, and I was kind of reading some of their fan stuff, going through their fan sites today. Like their defense is whatever, kind of like UCF, their offense is what's freaking them out. And yeah, it's the O-line, it's quarterback. A lot of UNC fans believe that Max Johnson needs to take over. I'm kind of curious if that. I don't think UCF's going to be the only team on like quarterback change watch. I think that UNC is very much there too, but. Yeah, I don't know. You look at their offensive line and some of the issues they've had, and you look at UCF's D-line. Is that the matchup like you feel best about anywhere on either side of the ball?
Yeah, it has to be.
That's probably right. And that's like a good one to feel good about.
Yeah, because I would think like I don't know all about their, and again with the question marks UCF has at receiver, I imagine that their DBs are P4 quality.
Right.
Linebackers, it seems like they've got some good linebackers and stuff, but. Yeah, I mean, and again, same thing goes for their skill players on offense, where it's like they've probably got some talent, they've got some athletes and stuff, but I don't know. I think it has to be UCF's D-line probably having what I think is a decided advantage over UNC's O-line could be the factor in the game.
Yeah, I mean, regardless of what UCF's offense does, which might be bad, if you can just have a game where the D-line is pestering the hell out of the offense, is taking away parts of the game for them, is forcing them into mistakes, paired with UCF's linebackers and DBs who have been good, particularly the DBs, and have Gio Lopez make some mistakes, like that feels like the path to a win. That feels like that's what's going to happen. And I feel like this is not going to be the last podcast you hear from us this season where we say, well, if the D-line can do their thing, that'll probably be the difference maker.
And it always would help if UCF could score another special teams touchdown or another defensive touchdown. That would always, anything that takes more points off of the offense's plate that they have to score. That would be great. But
with given all the offensive issues, I don't think this is going to be some high flying 42-35 game. Like I think a defensive turnover might win. There's no way there is. I know we don't know anything, but like there is no way. But yeah, the defense forcing like one turnover or getting one score off a pick six or a fumble, that could be like what wins the game. So that's nothing to scoff at. Yeah,
I'm really, really intrigued by this matchup. Like I
kind of hate it. I hate just having I hate the games where you sit down and it's stupid because there's games where we think we know everything and we sit down and it's not what we're expecting. But this is such a weird one where we're both. What'd you say?
Jacksonville State.
That Jacksonville State, for example, wasn't that fun. We all had a great time. Both fan bases and both teams getting ready for this game and going, yeah, no clue. That's always just a scary spot to be in because any result is possible. UCF could get a blowout. Okay, let me say that right now, though. Let me temper fan expectation. I'm going to this is so not going to happen. I can't wait that I'm going to say this and then UCF's going to lose badly. But like, if UCF gets a blowout win, like wins like 38-10 or something, please do not go on Twitter and be like, great news, UCF's a contender in the Big 12, because truth be told, what that some people are already doing that, and you guys need psychiatric assistance, but what that probably means is that UNC is just really bad. And that's great. You get the win. You're 3-0, chance to go to 4-0. That's huge, and we should be celebrating, but please don't come back with playoff time, because that's stupid.
That's what I think I don't want to say no one, but most people haven't learned about the Big 12 is that 1 week doesn't mean anything.
No.
Like from week to week, you can't take a performance in 1 week. Like they could say they win this game, say they go to Manhattan. I know Kansas State's been bad so far this year, but say they do beat Kansas State and they're 4-0. That means nothing. It really doesn't, because they can come right home and lose to Kansas the next week, and then all of a sudden the whole world is crashing down and everything sucks.
So when
that's
UCF,
just the nature of this conference.
When UCF was in the AAC, there were tiers of teams. UCF was always in the top tier. And the way it worked was a UCF season was you have the schedule in front of you. You can pick the like 6 or 7 games that you know are not going to be a problem for you, and you're just going to win those. And then there's the other games against the other upper tier teams like Memphis or Cincinnati or South Florida. And the way the season works is you win the games you know you're supposed to. And when you get to those big games, you try to win those. And if you do, then you get to have a good season. The Big 12 is 16 teams enter a giant dust cloud of madness for 3 months. And at the end of the 3 months, the 2 that are the least beaten up crawl out, and those are the 2 who play for the conference title. And that is what it is going to be like for the foreseeable future, because all of these programs are just too freaking similar. So UCF can start 4-0. That will be cool. We will be very happy about that. That will make the path to a bowl deeply attainable. And I don't think they're going to go 4-0, but if they are 4-0, that would be awesome. Does not mean anything. Every single game is still going to be a total nightmare, because that is just this conference.
Is there a better example of it than the way Oklahoma State beat Oklahoma in their last ever Bedlam in 2023, and then came the next week to a struggling UCF and lost by 42?
Yeah, got destroyed. Absolutely just walked off the field destroyed. This conference just doesn't make sense. Arizona State won the conference last season, and they also lost to Cincinnati, who went 5-7 during the season. Things don't make sense.
Yeah.
They almost lost to UCF, who was really bad last. That's the conference. It's tough. It's ridiculous.
UCF should have beaten Iowa State last year, and that was not a result that going into that game, we were like, there's no way. And
UCF was
should have won the game.
4-8 and really bad last year, and started 4 different quarterbacks, and the program went blank slate afterwards, and rightfully so. And they also almost beat both teams that played for the conference title.
Mm-hmm.
That's the big problem.
I don't know. We don't have to get into last year, but almost every loss, they were right in it. Could have beaten Cincinnati. Things are so different from last year. If whatever.
Ironically, Colorado, who kind of fell off, was the one team that just beat the brakes off of UCF. Yeah. It's the way it rolls.
All right. Any final thoughts on this one before we get into our score predictions, which will definitely come true?
Yeah, I'm just excited to have fun. If you had fun, you won.
Yeah. I don't know.
If they lose, it's going to suck. And if they lose badly, it's going to be apocalyptic. And I think both those things are on the table. So it could be a fun weekend. Could be a fun Saturday.
The crazy, again, I don't want to keep doing this, but everything is on the table.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a result that would surprise me.
I don't think there is. I really I think any score, pull out the scoregami card. I think any of them I could be I could see that happening. Just have no idea.
Oh, I don't know. Okay. I guess if it was a shootout, it would surprise me.
That would, actually. And honestly, I don't even know what we talk about.
55-46.
After everything this offseason in the first couple of games, I have no idea what we do if we have to get on this podcast and be like, hey, so the defense sucks and the offense is electric. I don't know what, I don't know. That would break my brain. So actually good call out.
What's your score prediction?
I have UCF winning the game purely because this is a UCF podcast, 24-13.
I have UCF 23-17.
Pretty similar.
So pretty similar. I again, that
nothing close to this.
Could be UNC 23-17. It could be, I don't know. I want to pick UCF. And in a game where it's a toss-up like this, I feel very rarely, unless the vibes are bad, unless they've lost 4 in a row, I'm probably going to usually lean UCF. But there's not really a lot of reasoning behind it.
I feel the funniest outcome is Noé Ruelas hits a game-winning field goal to put UCF up 10-7 for a win. I think that one would be fun.
From like 55 yards out, like
Like
one of the kicks, like
yeah, because everyone's 7-7, and everyone's like, please do not make these two awful teams go to overtime. And Ruelas is like, I got you. That would be fun. I'd enjoy that.
Would be, yeah, would be fun. All right, jumping into the football news a little bit. UCF in the NFL update. Matt Prater still doing his thing with the Bills. 3 of 3 on field goals, 3 of 3 on PATs, and the Bills' third get 10 win over the Jets. I believe I saw UCF posted that he extended his NFL record NFL lead in field goals from 50-plus yards. I think it was like his 82nd of his career, something like that. So that was the good news. The bad news was that RJ Harvey was held to 8 yards on 5 carries, and he had a 16-yard catch in the Broncos' 29-28 loss to the Colts. So after a nice debut where he had that 50-yard run, back down to earth a little bit, I guess, this week. I don't know. I know I saw some UCF fans, obviously demanding that he has more than 5 carries. I would like to see him get more than 5 carries also, but I can't say I know enough about what the Broncos. Like they have J.K. Dobbins. He was running the ball pretty well, so I think there might just be some weeks like that where RJ doesn't get a ton of, especially if he only has 8 yards on 5 carries. Like if he breaks off a 40-yard run again or 50-yard run, he's probably going to get some more carries. But whatever, we'll see. Rookie time. We'll see what goes on next week. And then another piece of football news, UCF Kansas State will kick off at noon on FS1, which oddly, this feels like the first FS1 game UCF has had in a long time. Is that true?
Yeah, when was the last one actually? Hold on, I can find it very quickly. It's
because we made it through most of last year. Like because we
Arizona,
were talking about it.
It was the space game, November 2nd last year.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So
that makes sense. But yeah, no, back on FS1 at noon, which I know everybody loves. FS1.
Well, I thought you were going to say noon. I love a noon kick for a road
game.
No, it's actually my preferred kick for a road game. Just get it. I don't have to, because when UCF plays at night on the road, it's like I'm just stressed all day. Like I'm just sitting there antsy and like I can't enjoy. Like I like that it's just like.
I think back to Florida. Like that's the one I think of.
Yeah, that
is waiting all day for it.
Game day will end, and then we will watch UCF play a football game, and good or bad, I will get to move on with my life afterwards. And when we do our post-game podcast, the sun will be out, and I think that's beautiful.
Yeah. It'll also be interesting to see how it goes post-game podcast on the road where we can just kind of jump right on our computers and not have to get out of the stadium and all that.
Part of the reason I appreciate everyone who's joined us for the first 2 is that it's happening like 90 minutes after the game ends because I have to do the post-game presser and then drive us home, and I don't live super close to UCF, but still.
Which is a good time to plug that we'll be live approximately an hour and a half. I don't know. We tweeted it last time, what we kind of had the general idea of when we'd be going live. But yeah, I mean, I can't really guess what it's going to be right now, but we will be live for our post game after the North Carolina game on Saturday.
I drive with abandon to try to get us home, which is probably bad, but yeah.
Yeah. Game of the week, UCF women's soccer. They are 6-1. They will be playing at home on Thursday at 7:00 in their Big 12 opener. West Virginia coming to town. West Virginia is 5-2. Both teams having their Big 12 openers this week. So hopefully they can get off to a good start in Big 12 play after a 6-1 run in non-conference slate. Tweet of the week.
Tweet of the week. Tweet of the week this week goes to Jason on Twitter. It's just his name. Good for him.
Okay.
I don't know if you're following the latest uniform updates, Bailey, but Oregon has released their shoe duck uniforms. Did you see these? Yeah. Oregon is wearing black and gold uniforms, which is kind of funny, but they're honoring Oregon's connections to Nike and Phil Knight. Obviously, I'm sure if you're listening to this, you're a college football fan, you know that Oregon and Nike are incredibly close. Actually, Oregon, the reason you know what Oregon is because of Nike. Phil Knight grew up an Oregon fan, and once he became a billionaire, gave all of his money to Oregon and made them a football powerhouse. So, that's always the thing. Uniform's pretty cool. Jason quote tweeted it and said, "At UCF football, we got to step up our game. These are beyond clean." That is the standard for UCF football uniforms, is to outdo the uniforms made by Nike for Oregon, honoring Oregon and Nike's connection. Yes, I do think that there should be a way that UCF should. I don't know you guys aren't, not everyone's as into uniforms as I am. Oregon wears uniform components. Yeah, honestly. Oregon wears uniform components that are not even commercially available. Like Nike just makes them for Oregon. So I found that tweet both hilarious and stupid. Also, really quickly, kind of hot take, and you can tell me, Bailey, I don't love the shoe duck uniforms as much as everybody else does. Everyone's hailing them as the best this season. They're a little busy for me. There's like a lot going on.
I got to see them again. But I mean, yeah, I was like, oh, those are nice. It wasn't anything where like, oh, it's the best. Like, I liked what they wore this past weekend against Northwestern a lot.
I like that a lot more, to be honest. Yeah, I love that combo.
Yeah, I'm looking at it again right now. It's
There's
good.
just a lot going on between like the wing pattern on the shoulders and the two different badges, and there's a Nike logo and also a script Nike word mark over the Nike logo. I don't know. There's a lot going on.
They've been using that, like, I don't know if it's on a uniform thing, but they've been using that Nike logo a lot, like just for different
with the script Nike over it.
Yeah,
I don't like that.
I'm not. It's not my favorite.
Well, yeah. Hey, UCF uniform designers, if you're listening, go ahead and call up Nike and say we want better uniforms than what you give away.
We want Oregon's uniforms.
We want Oregon's uniform.
Laugh and hang up and say, "Go,
guys!" I can't overstate.
Go partner with Adidas.
The story is hilarious. I read Phil Knight's like memoir a few years ago, and like literally, it's like Oregon was a very bad program that lost to Oregon State like 20 straight times at one point, and Phil Knight was a big fan. And when he became a billionaire, just gave all of his money to Oregon, and that is why Oregon is now a football program. It's very UCF just needs their Phil Knight.
Yeah.
So go if you're listening, buy those lottery tickets. Do what you got to do.
Yeah. Somebody win the Powerball and give all.
Really, are you sending a text in a group chat I'm in while we're doing the podcast?
I don't know why you had to air that out now.
We're gonna be done in like a minute. We're wrapping up.
You're calling me on this when every time I do the football news, you just don't listen.
I have never sent a text while we're doing the podcast. That's a lie. But it's only if it's like an emergency.
Yeah.
I don't qualify this as an emergency. Wow.
I don't qualify as an emergency either, but I was just like, I just see a text. And
if you subscribe to Pegasus Podcast Plus, we'll add you to the group chat for $10 a month.
Wrong. Cool. We'll be back Saturday evening. At some point. Again, we'll tweet it out when we kind of have a general idea of when we're going to go live, but we'll be back live with our post-game show with episode 288 after UCF UNC. Until then, you can find us on Twitter at BaileyJAdams22, at @ByCA Simmons, at Night Sports Now, and at Pegasus Podcast. Thank you guys so much for being with us, and we will talk to you on Saturday.
Bye, everybody.